Good morning. I'm reading this book. The name of it is The History of Zen in China. And you can find it on the internet at sacred-text.com. But anyway, the section that I'm reading at the moment is The Errors of Philosophical Pessimists and Religious Optimists. And it says, philosophical pessimists maintain that there are on earth many more causes of pain than pleasure, and that pain exists positively, but pleasure is a mere absence of pain, because we are conscious of sickness, but not of health, of loss, but not of possession. On the contrary, religious optimists insist that there must not be any evil in God's universe, that evil has no independent nature, but simply denotes a privation of good. That is, evil is null, is not, is silence implying sound. But when I read that, I thought, when I was growing up, I found myself in situations that I was required to explain my behavior. And I found these moments painful because of the pressure in the situation and the realization that I didn't know why I found myself in this position, where one individual was requiring that I do something, and that I was unable to do it, because I had to explain my behavior, my awareness of self, and I couldn't do it, and I felt inferior, I felt inadequate. That moment placed me in a situation that I didn't enjoy. But it was a real moment. It was a moment that I had to look at myself. It was a moment that required that I know who I was, and I came up short and I didn't like it. And I got angry. Well, those situations occurred less and less in my life as I became more aware of my behavior. And they didn't frighten me as much. But I still found myself in situations where I was asked to explain my behavior and my thoughts. And most of the time, the moments were painful. Even though the situation was different, I still wasn't able to satisfactorily answer the question to my understanding, to my liking. In both occurrences, when I was required and later in life, I found that the individuals asking the question became either disinterested or impatient or satisfied way before I was at the point that I thought we should go. So I learned that it was easy to satisfy the questioner, but it wasn't easy to satisfy myself. And again, I could feel inferior and inadequate. And I knew that I was explaining myself to the best of my ability. So why should I come up unsatisfied? Why wasn't the question and the answer enough. And I began to realize that my understanding of a word and the individual's understanding of the word is not the same. And that the value and the inference and the pronunciation and the power of the word meant something to me that quite possibly didn't have even an iota of significance to the other individual. And that would be, to me, in my explanation, would be the turning point of the answer. But the other individual didn't have my life experiences to realize the power of that word that was to turn the answer. And so I found that it was futile to answer a question that I really didn't understand what the question is. So, when someone asks me a question, I first must realize, in their words, what is the question. Not as I understand the question, because that had proven to be mostly unsatisfied. But if I was to understand the question from the questioner's point of view, then quite possibly I could find satisfaction in answering that question.